And then sort of later when I got more involved in the school and started, as the performing arts instructor, then I would teach the productions or I would direct the productions, that we would do, like a musical in the spring and a play usually in the fall or early winter. And then I started directing out in the community too. So one thing kind of led to another,
What was the first thing you directed?
At school or in the community?
How about school first and then the community?
School first. Oh my gosh, what was it? Well, I directed a few small trouping shows with Raleigh Little Theater, and we would take them around to local libraries. And so that was a lot of fun. And then at school, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of the first production. It was some little farce. It was called May the Farce Be With You.
Oh.
is what it was. That was the first show that we did. In the community, I actually directed a version of Puss in Boots with adult actors for, like a family audience. So that was actually a lot of fun too.
Cat costumes and the such.
Did you say cat costumes?
Yeah, was that part of it?
Oh, well, the actor we did his face painted like a cat, very detailed makeup, and then his costume was sort of, I don't know, like like green knickers and boots, and kind of like I don't remember exactly what color the cartoon character is, but sort of swashbuckling, the hat with the feather, and that kind of whole thing. Yeah.
Nice. Now, did you pick the material you were going to direct? Was it a collaboration?
Usually it depends. Sometimes you get to pick, and then other times it's a collaboration. Depends on the group. Sometimes in the theater community, they'll be like, we have this show we need a guest director for. Sometimes you get to propose a show too and say like, oh, I'd really like to direct this. Are you willing to produce it? So it kind of just depends where it is, how that comes about. So
well, it leads me to this question. What makes a good director?
Ooh, what makes a good director?
You've been on both sides.
Yeah, a good director has to see the big picture, right? And has to have a clear vision of what they want of the production, because everything comes down to how they want to see the show. What does the set look like? What do the costumes look like? What is the soundscape of the show? What does it sound like? And of course, casting. How do you see those characters cast? What do they look like? So I think a director definitely has to start off with a clear vision of the show. And I think then you also need to know how to work with people and understand that not everybody's the same. Everybody has different ways that you need to understand how to work with them that to get them to where you want them to be. Someone may need a whole lot of specific direction. Other people may just need to be pointed in the right direction and let them go. If you get in their way too much, that kind of stifles their creativity. But I think also it's a collaboration. It's, I like to really have discussions with my actors and leave things open to where they can come to me, and we can kind of bounce ideas off each other. I'm not one of those directors that is like, you do this and this and this, so I think a good director listens, knows how to talk to people, figures out how to get the best performance out of each actor that they can.
That's a good answer. I like that. I'm not sure, as an actor, that's what you look for from the director.
Well, it's nice if you get that, because, if you have a director who doesn't let you try things or express yourself, you feel kind of stifled as an artist. You don't feel like you're being an active participant. You're just like a puppet being manipulated, kind of. So, yeah, I think coming at it from the perspective that I came at it as an actor first, I think that's probably why I do things the way I do. So.
Understandable. Definitely. Who are some of your influences, whether it's actors, directors, anybody in the arts?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. That's a hard one. That's a really, really hard one. I mean, there are definitely actors and actresses that I admire their work, and definitely directors too. But not having, like, I mean, I can speak to some of the directors that I worked with personally. There are a few that definitely really taught me how to create an ensemble and create a feeling that everyone is valued and important. And that's, some of the best directors that I worked with, that's what they taught me, so, and those were some folks in Raleigh that I worked with. Glenn Matthews was one, and Linda O'Day Young, who actually was my mentor at Raleigh Little Theater when she first hired me out of college too, so to teach. So the two of them probably shaped a lot of how I direct, I would say.
And are you doing the same for up-and-coming talent, you think?
I hope. Last year, actually, for Columbinus, one of my former middle school students, who is now studying directing at DePaul, came back, and she was my assistant director on Columbinus. So that was a really, really nice full circle moment. I had her from 5th grade to 8th grade. Yeah, and now she's in college studying directing, and she came and worked with me on Columbinus. So that was really cool. One of the actors right now who was in Columbinus is my assistant director on the show we're currently working on, Shayna Madel. So I do, yeah. I'd like to think that I'm, inspiring them and giving them an opportunity to see what it's like out, on the director side of things.
Definitely sounds like it. Definitely. That's great. Need more of that in the world. For sure.
That was kind of a cool idea. If you're kind of on the top of the building and, and you're successful, in other words, it's sort of your responsibility to send that elevator back down and bring people up with you.
That's a really good one. I like that. Never heard that one. So you're in North Carolina, and then coming back to Florida. What was the impetus for that?
Well, our families, my husband and my families, are still here, and my husband ended up getting a job offer back in the Tampa Bay area. And with our parents still here, we thought that seemed like a good idea. So we ended up coming back a little over like 4.5 years ago now. And so it's interesting because it's some people grow up in Florida and never leave. And, we had the experience of moving and coming back. So we've kind of seen a little bit, and now we're back here, and a lot's the same, but a lot has changed too. So
you're back here. Now what do you do with your acting, directing talents and passions? Where does this go?
Well, when I first came back, I started trying to get involved in the theater community here and did a few shows with Stageworks and Tampa Rep, and working, teaching part-time after school in a theater drama program as well. One thing sort of led to another, and ended up opening my own small theater company. So kind of taking all that experience over the years and learning a whole lot of new things too, running my own company. And so that started in spring of 2017. We started in evocative theater.
All right. So how did the name come about?
Everyone asks, yeah.
Of course.
So yeah, I know, because it's a made up word, right? And everyone's like, evocative. What is that? Well, when we were thinking about the type of plays that we wanted to produce, we were kind of throwing out words and what do we want it to be? And I'm like, well, I like to do newer work or innovative work or thought-provoking work, evocative work. And kind of all those words kind of were floating around. And actually, my husband and I were coming back from the theater, and we were driving back from St. Pete. And we had the conversation on the way to St. Pete, throw out some words. And so we were, throwing out words. And then on the way back, my husband actually came up with it, and he said, how about evocative? And it was just out of the blue. I was like, wait, what? Evocative, the name of the theater. And that's literally how it came up. So my husband came up with the name, and it's interesting. It's taken people a while, because people at first like, what? Innovative? Nope. Every once in a while, I still get something made out to innovative theater, but now I hear people saying it, and it's interesting, because it's almost like people now say it like it's a regular word. Oh, evocative theater, Oh yeah, you're with evocative, right? Yes. So it's sort of exciting that after only a couple years, it's sort of caught on, the name and the word, and maybe it'll be in the dictionary one day. You never know.
It would definitely be evocative. Nice. So you started at Stage Works. Is evocative part of that in a way, or is that its own separate entity?
So Stageworks has been around for over 30 years, not in the same space, but they've been in that space in the Channel District now for quite a few years off of Kennedy. And we basically, because I got to know Carla Hartley there after doing a couple shows, when we were forming the theater, I kind of talked to her like, would it be possible for us to be able to use the space? So we sort of formed a little bit of this partnership where a couple of times a year, when they're in between shows in their season, we can come in and use the space. So we're two separate entities still, but when we go in, we sort of co-produce the show. So in Evocative, basically, we create the show. I pick my own shows. I usually direct most of them myself, and bring everything in, and they provide the space and the ticketing and the support for us, while we're there.
What made you choose the type of shows you wanted to produce for Evocative Theater?
Well, I think there's a lot of companies, a lot of great theater companies in the area that produce, everything from comedies to musical theater, and a lot of escapism, and I love that as much as anybody. But I thought, if I want to do something, I really want to do something that that can also spark a conversation, that can also bring up maybe issues that are topical, current, maybe things that people don't normally want to talk about or think about. I think theater is a vehicle that can do that. And so I usually pick shows that have something to say, we try not to take sides. We try to present the material as neutrally as we can as it's written. And then we also usually take things one step further and have talkbacks after several of our performances, where I bring in local experts depending on what the subject matter of the play is. And we invite the audience to stay and sort of, unpack what they just saw, and then maybe offer some real world solutions to some of the issues that the play brings up. And we had some amazing talkbacks for Columbinus with, we had one of the victim's father was there talking about from Parkland, talking about, things that happened in Parkland and his son and gun control.